Oh, I didn't know.
No.
I didn't know. I wanted to make sure you didn't press like stop as a joke and then we actually not record it.
That would be.
That suck.
I know one of my favorite podcasts has at least one or two lost episodes because they didn't record.
Lost media, Cameron. First episode of the year, lost media. Hey, we need to pay our podcast bill.
Yes, it should pay automatically. I think. I don't know. That's a good question. Pay our podcast bill. That's really funny.
They're gonna turn the lights off on us.
They're gonna stop letting us cast this. The whole thing will shut down. Right, the lights will go out. The recording device will go away. Athena will not pay attention. Well, that's normal, but
she'll riot. She's gonna go unionize.
Oh no, we can't afford that. What would we do if we got a significant way through the pod or after the pod and we figured out we didn't record? Would we just like do a 5-minute version, just sum it up really fast?
I feel like we'd have to come back to it another day.
Yeah.
I feel like we'd be upset.
I don't know if I could bring myself to talk about Monarch.
I was just gonna say it's gonna
time.
depend on what we're talking about. If it happened during this stint, we would probably not. We could just do news and meme minute. Any update on Monarch? It still sucks.
It's still going.
Walking in a winter monster land. Run away, it's Godzilla.
Well, it's Wednesday night, and Cameron and Rachel are hanging out yet again, which must mean that it's Starformers Zillimation night. Welcome to Rebels and Robots and RAR and Rotoscoping, episode 45, first episode of the new year. Welcome to 2024, Rachel. I'm Cameron.
I'm Rachel.
This is our weekly chat about Star Wars and
Transformers
and
Godzilla
and animation and whatever else we want to talk about.
New year, no new jokes.
We're just rolling along just because the calendar. I would say the challenger.
Challenger.
That's relevant to something later. But just because the calendar has changed does not mean this podcast is going to get better all of a sudden.
You can insult our 4 listeners.
Yeah, it's speaking of listeners, I'm looking at our analytics from Spotify right now, and we're on 45, so episode 40, 41, 2, and 3 have 0 listens, but for some reason episode 44 has 2 streams, which is the second part of the Boy and the Heron episode. So that means this person at least attempted to listen to the second half of our Boy and the Heron review, unless that person maybe listened to it on a different platform.
She's in a recording booth.
She's just in a box crouching, and her is our editor, of course, Athena.
Gremlin.
Yes, Shin Athena, as we named her last time.
Today.
Well, today we're going to be talking about episode 7, 8, and 9 of Monarch.
And we're still going to get 15 minutes to talk about
it. But before we do that, as always, we talk about recent thoughts and news. Rachel, what kind of news you got for us this week?
Well, the first thing I want to talk about is we got some killer gifts from our friend Megan.
Oh, yes.
Now, we can't show them to you because this is an auditory experience.
Well, you could listen to it. You want to grab it and see if you can make it make noise?
I didn't see where it was, and I thought you were pointing to my lunchbox, and I was like...
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so sad.
So, yeah, fan of the show, Megan made us more fan art, but this was physically given to us. It is... I don't know how to actually accurately describe this. How would you describe this?
So what this is it's a book, and you read them.
Okay, I know what a book is, Rachel.
What Megan has done, and this is probably something you have seen online, you fold pages in a book symmetrically in order to create a symbol out of the pages that remain.
Yeah.
Like at the length, and so you put them in between your other books, so when they squish together,
yeah,
they have a shape. Megan made 4. Bless her.
Yeah. So she made the Decepticon and Autobot logo
symbols.
And the Rebellion and the Empire. I am just now realizing it's also on the top and bottom.
Oh my gosh, I didn't notice that either.
So what I thought it only was
crap.
So imagine a book and you have the spine, and on the opposite side you have the pages facing out, and she's folded it so that when you close the book doesn't close all the way, and the book pages have been folded in such a way that they resemble this image, but they also resemble the image on the top and bottom as well. That is a crazy amount of work.
I had no idea.
I don't even know how that's
that.
possible. Megan's a freaking wizard, dude.
She is. Holy crap.
So Rachel took the bad guys and I took the good guys.
You know, he's got to do it. He's got to do it. We were like, which ones do we want to split up? And I was like,
So even more work than I had
yeah, I didn't know that
imagined.
at all. Live reaction.
Neither of us figured that out until just now.
Because I have the other one on a bookshelf.
Nice.
So
how's it looking over there?
it's looking very empirical.
It looks really cool. Yeah, you do have to put it. You do have to put it somewhere where it gets squished together. Otherwise, you have a very wide Autobot logo. It looks really funny.
Wide man. There's a thick man.
So for me, I'm a big college football fan, and if you know, early January is big time for college football because you have the major bowl games and the national championship. Well, I've got 2 pieces of Star Wars content, surprisingly, that came out of that. One is, here, let me bring it up on my phone because it's an image I'm going to show you. During a game, so random game, including the University of Mississippi, which is referred to as Ole Miss for some reason.
It's 'cause they miss.
I'm not really paying attention to the game. The game wasn't that interesting. I just kind of had it on in the background. And I look over, and on the television screen, I see this. It's an image of the quarterback for Ole Miss, and next to him is an image of Anakin Skywalker, and they're saying that he looks like Anakin Skywalker because of his long hair.
Oh.
That's about it. He doesn't really look like Hayden Christensen very much.
You went, oh, those are some content.
Yeah, exactly. I ran over and took a photo of my television screen. My other bit is this last Monday was the national championship for college football. And the game is getting close to starting, and there's as a lot of sports do, there's like a montage, like a hype up montage before the game starts, and it has like kind of this like NASA theme to it that they're like launching a rocket ship and like cutting back and forth between that, like coaches and football.
Cringe.
Anyways, it gets to the end, it cut, and then I'm not really paying it. There's some orchestral music in the background. I'm not really paying attention to it. It's just kind of there. It cuts to the person composing or orchestrating the song, and it is none other than John Williams.
Are you kidding me?
And I rewind back to the beginning of the thing, and the theme song for this national championship was composed by John Williams.
Oh my gosh.
It was very shocking.
Didn't he retire?
I guess not.
Maybe just from Star Wars.
Unless it's been used before. I don't normally watch the beginning of football games. This was a rare occurrence for me. So he may have created it a long time ago, but... So that surprised John Williams at a college football game of all, or broadcast at least.
Phenomenal.
What else you got, Rachel?
Did you see what Luke posted? Or not, sorry. I read someone's username. Did you see what Star Wars posted yesterday on social media?
So I've got 2 things they posted. I think you're talking about announcement of a new movie.
Yeah?
Yes, out of absolutely nowhere.
Yes. So I'm going to read the article because it does a better job. The Mandalorian and Grogu are embarking on a new adventure to the movie theaters. Directed by Jon Favreau and produced by Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni, italics. The Mandalorian and Grogu, and italics, will go into production in 2024. Quote, I have loved telling stories set in the rich world that George Lucas created, said Favreau. The prospect of bringing the Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely challenging. Continuing, end quote. New quote, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have ushered into Star Wars 2 new and beloved characters, and this new story is a perfect fit for the big screen, added Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. Continues on, The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is the working title for now, which I hate, but will lead Lucasfilm's ongoing feature development slate, including films helmed by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, which is the Rey movie, James Mangold, which is
the Jedi
Dawn of the Jedi, and Dave Filoni, Heir to the Empire, who is also developing Ahsoka Season 2 among those in the works. So, out of nowhere, Star Wars has just dropped a 4th movie.
Yep.
And announced Ahsoka Season 2.
Yeah. Lucasfilm treats announcing movies like, I don't even know what to compare it to, like popping little candies. Like, they don't even count. Just take another one. Just announce another movie. It doesn't even count. This could be a sign that Disney's finally realizing that
People
putting
want movies.
all of your eggs in the in the Disney Plus basket is a bad move.
True.
And they need to reinvest in the theatrical experience. Because another thing that's kind of similar and that might point to that is they're also re-releasing the last 3 or 4 Pixar films in theaters. That the ones that didn't get released in theaters.
Yep.
The jazz. I just almost called it jazz. That's not what it's called.
The what?
Soul.
Yeah,
Soul, Luca, and Red.
Turning Red.
Turning Red. Yes.
That's a cute film.
They're re-releasing those in theaters because they were released in the COVID era and
They didn't make enough money.
Yeah, they were released on Disney Plus for
Yeah.
no additional charge the day they were released in theaters. And so they never really had a chance to be successful in theaters. And obviously re-releases are rarely ever going to rake in the money other than something like Avatar. But this shows that they are realizing the money is in the theater, not streaming. Not anymore, at least, not because of the oversaturation. So that might be why they want to make a specific Mandalorian film.
Which now I'm curious because there's been a lot of talk of Dave Filoni's movie, working title, Heir to the Empire. I don't know if that's the actual working title. That's what everyone's calling it because that's, is going to be the culmination of a lot of all the stuff that has been happening right now. The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, all of this stuff has been building up to that culmination. So I'm curious if they've gone, okay, so maybe we want to do a movie instead of another season that would be shorter. And maybe it's a like a slight prequel to what will happen in the 6.5, or maybe they've decided to make Heir to the Empire its own thing and not put
Mandalorian,
Mando
not
and
force
Grogu
the
in it.
Mandalorian in there.
Yeah.
That would probably be the best case scenario.
I agree. That's what my thought, because, well, I guess there's also the aspect of, because if that happens, you get the question of, well, where were Mando and Grogu during the First Order?
Now, the other direction could be they've decided not to make Heir to the Empire a movie, because the one thing I would go off of is that would be making a movie that's a continuation of a streaming show. The most recent thing similar to that is The Marvels, which was carrying over of the 3 characters in that Marvel movie. 2 were purely streaming Disney Plus original show characters, not from the movies. There's probably a lot of reasons The Marvels bombed, but I think the fact that 2 of your 3 main characters were not film original characters, had not been in a movie yet, I think contributed to that. So I think, regardless of right or wrong, I think Disney might be very hesitant at this time to take streaming characters and make them the stars of a movie.
Probably because they might be seeing what's happening, how maybe a lot of people are feeling with Marvel. I've heard a lot about Marvel overload. You know, people are like, another show.
Sure, yeah.
The other thing, so now we have a confirmation that Ahsoka season 2 will happen. They just dropped that.
Yeah, I just now saw that right before we started recording.
Because I was kind of like, okay, new Ahsoka.
Well, did you see what they posted today about that?
Maybe.
They posted some very rough concept art.
I did. I saw it was cute.
It's just a very rough sketch of what
Ahsoka
is seemingly Sabine and Ahsoka standing on the big pointer finger of the father. Is that this kind of it's so pointy. Yeah, like that could be Leonardo DiCaprio's hand for all we know. Like that is it's
Hup, tip, tip. Speaking of Leonardo DiCaprio, do you know what I saw when I turned on Apple TV today?
Leonardo DiCaprio?
Killers of the Flower Moon is on Apple TV.
Yeah, because it was made by Apple.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was produced by Apple. Apple is more dedicated to putting their movies in theaters than Netflix is, but they pretty much realize you invest a bunch of money in a famous director like Martin Scorsese. You put it in theaters, and then you own the rights to that movie forever. So as long as Apple Plus exists, which if Apple ends up buying Disney, like a lot of people have theorized for a few years.
Oh my gosh.
Theorized kind of makes it sound silly when you're talking about like reality rather than, but
my
people
theory.
People have been hypothesizing or predicting that Apple will buy Disney at some point, in which case I would assume Apple Plus ceases to exist. You would think.
Oh man.
But So that's all the news I have. Do you have any other news?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. I don't know if you watched it, but I looked up the results. So the Golden Globes.
Yes, I actually did watch the last 30 minutes.
Okay, so I was going to talk. Some of the things that won awards are things we've talked about on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about them. So we've talked about Barbie, for that one fun episode.
Yeah,
Barbie got cinematic and box office achievement, and then the song "What Was I Made For" got best original song.
Mm-hmm.
Oppenheimer, of course, it got best. Yes, got best drama, best actor for Cillian Murphy, best supporting actor in Robert Downey Jr., best original score for Ludwig Göransson, who has also done the music for Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. Best director Christopher Nolan, and then Boy and the Heron won some awards.
Yep.
Boy and the Heron won Best Animated Film, which is the first Golden Globe win for a non-English animated feature.
Oh, interesting.
It went up against Wish,
Spider-Verse.
There was something else. Was it Elemental? I think might have been in there.
Elemental was nominated. Yep.
So went in through a couple.
It's definitely the correct choice in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. And this is the first Golden Globe for Studio Ghibli, and also
crazy.
And also, it's just really nice that Hayao Miyazaki's final film got a first award that nothing else has.
Sure.
So,
yeah, Golden Globes are they're not really particularly well respected. Like, they're among the bigger movie awards, but they're also kind of considered a joke because it's the foreign press, and it's kind of considered a joke because oftentimes it's perceived to be just a way for these foreign press to get a way to meet American celebrities. So they nominate the people they want to meet because I would imagine a lot of people that work in the American press get to meet these people a lot because they work in the same country. But if you're from a different country, even though you work writing about movies, you don't necessarily get to meet the American celebrities a lot. But they are oftentimes considered a major indicator for the Oscars.
Yeah.
They obviously can be different, but whatever you see nomination wise for this, and as far as winners partially, though, by bone to pick with the Golden Globes versus actually the Oscars were the ones that pissed me off. Lego Movie won Best Animated Film at the Golden Globes and was not even nominated at the Oscars. So I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, they also have daytime. No, this is Emmys. Maybe there was either Emmys or Golden Globes, something like that. The Young Jedi Adventures won Best Children's Program or something.
I didn't see that.
So awards all around.
Awards all around. There was one thing I wanted to talk about if you don't have any other news.
I have no other news, no.
So this was something I don't think we've actually talked about, which I thought was kind of funny. And maybe it was something we alluded to, but didn't actually, I don't think we said in connection. So we watched Godzilla -1. If you haven't seen it, go see it. And we watched The Boy and the Heron. If you haven't seen it, go see it. We talked so much about those movies, and I don't think we actually voiced the connection of two films that have focused on the theme of continuing to live on in the wake of grief and destruction.
Okay.
We have Shikishima, who is dealing with all kinds of survivor's guilt, guilt over not killing Godzilla in Godzilla -1, and then when Noriko dies, quote unquote dies, spoilers, if you haven't seen it, the whole theme of that movie is to live.
Sure.
Live past what you've done, live past because you have to. And I think there's an interesting connection with also having the Boy and the Heron. Granted, it takes place from the point of view of a child. He's much younger, but I think you have similarities in our two main characters who have to navigate and make the choice of what they're going to do post loss.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Anyways,
very consistent theme.
It was Thursday it was after we recorded, and I went. So, anyways, if you haven't seen either of those movies, go see them. Very good, very enjoyable.
Yeah, interesting parallels for sure.
We had to talk about something fun before we move on.
Yeah, and I have a similar thing I was going to throw out, just a quick. I had a slight rethinking of something I said last week about Boy and the Heron. I had originally said that I felt like the Parakeet King's motivations were intentionally kept very vague because they didn't matter. Specifically in relationship, why that he and the other parakeets cared so much about. Dang it, I don't have any character names. Maito entering the birthing room and supposedly ruining the sanctity of that. I had originally, while we podcasted last time, I said that the Parakeet King's seemingly lack of connection to that was intentional because children, if you were to try to explain most dictators to a child, their motivation to it makes sense. I still am. I found that interpretation interesting. I think that can still very much stand. But also, as I was listening to a podcast about it, I thought about it a little bit more. While the movie is very unclear about exactly what's going on with the parakeets, I think there is enough clues there to point towards the potential that the parakeets are trying to make their world not collapse. And the implication that is never explicitly directly stated or pointed to, but seemingly the subtle implication is that Maito's stepmom/aunt is having her baby in that other world so that the baby can be the new guardian. This is never said, but it's implied because someone pure has to become the new leader, and Maito turns it down because he's not pure, and so a baby would be. So the parakeets want the baby because seemingly the baby would bring peace to their world, and they're pissed at Maito for screwing it up. It's crazy how this feels very important to the movie, but it is not spelled out at all. So I think that there is this interpretation, I think, makes the Parakeet King a lot more complex. Because while he is bare minimum stupid, because he ends up he causes the destruction of the world because he destroys the tower. His motivations are somewhat honorable because he's trying to save his people. While obviously the parakeets are murderous and carnivorous, they are just like any other group of people. They are trying to save their world. They're trying to protect themselves. And just add some more grays to this beautiful movie that deals in a lot of ambiguity. I think that grayness is phenomenal. So that's just something I thought about this last week.
Nice.
Cool. Well, on to talking about Monarch, starting with episode 7. So quick recap. Episode 6 ended with them finding Godzilla, finding a dirt nap, or taking a dirt nap. A Monarch, a helicopter crashed and it seemingly exploded. The next episode begins with Tim living. Yeah. we should have 100% known. You don't see a body, someone's dead. But it was the end of an episode, so we thought maybe he was still alive. I mean, he was actually dead, but he survived. He ends up kind of going a little rogue from Monarch, and he tries to help. And also, May goes missing in all the craziness.
No, so they make it to the airport.
Okay, everyone makes it to the airport together. Our heroes
May
do.
and Kentaro make it to the airport, and she's in the bathroom.
Oh,
and
right,
those two
right.
come in and quote unquote kidnap her.
Yeah, so she just disappears.
Seems to be in on it, or at least accepting, because she's like, "All right, how do we make this look real?" So
yeah.
And then Tim shows up.
So Kate and Kentaro are now concerned about May because she's just gone missing, and Tim helps them, and they end up tracking her down to like San Francisco, or do you remember exactly where they are?
Nope.
Somewhere in the west, somewhere in America.
Maybe it was San Francisco. No.
San Francisco, no.
It would have been San Francisco because this is after G-Day, right?
Yeah, somewhere in the United States. And
definitely West Coast.
Yeah, and they get there and
they find her family.
They end up meeting her family first, and then that helps them find the building where she works.
This episode is all about May.
Yeah. Oof. Everyone's favorite character. And they use one of the very few like the show's called Monarch, but you could take Monarch out of the show and it wouldn't change a lot, at least as the modern day stuff. This is the very first time I feel in the modern day setting the Monarch element actually contributed to the entertainment value. They use the Monarch warning system of a kaiju to clear out the building so they can sneak in to find May.
And so the important thing that we are learning is why May ran away.
Yes.
she started working as a coder for a company called Apex Cybernetics. So that actually, I was like, oh, that piqued my interest for the first time in 7 episodes. Just kidding. Because Apex Cybernetics is the company that makes Mechagodzilla later on.
Yes.
And so that was actually interesting. Actually, here's my comments. I thought you might find this funny. Wow, Apex Cybernetics, a reference to the legendary Godzilla verse in this show. I was not thrilled with this episode, but so long story short, she ended up, I think, outing them because they tested on animals.
Yes.
Or she destroyed their code. She did
Mm-hmm.
some internal sabotage, and that's why she had to run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they've caught her.
And throughout, intercutting with all of this is old Lee is stealing a bunch of stuff from Monarch. And I asked
Alaska.
you, and we have no idea who's actually helping him. He has a team of people. We don't know if these are Monarch people or...
They're all the spoilers. They're all the old people from the end of episode 9.
Actually, I think what we deduce is it's probably Agent Duval. I have in my notes here, I have the character names written down. Agent Duval, parenthesis, French. Parenthesis, derogatory.
French derogatory.
I think it's probably people she's recruited.
Yeah, that was my guess because she's like not quite Monarch. She's definitely a little more
Yeah.
hired.
Like a mercenary. Yeah. And so
French mercenary.
So Lee has taken his team and gone back to Alaska to the portal to the Hollow Earth.
Yes.
And he's detonated some bombs. No, he I don't. Okay, do they detonate the bombs to draw out the monster, the
plug
ice
the
monster?
hole.
And well, they draw that monster. Oh, well, we learned. I don't think we may not have known this at the time, but we now know the portals are only activated by a
kaiju.
Titan.
Yeah.
Was that an element of Kong versus Godzilla?
No, it wasn't, and I'm ready to talk about that.
So I think
I think
they detonate some bombs to draw the monster out, and then does the portal draw the monster in? And then that closes it, or how do they close it? I don't.
Hold
it's
on,
been a week, and I don't remember very well.
I've got a thought, so I need to.
Either way,
write it down.
Lee closes off the portal somehow, and the ice creature thing attacks a helicopter, and in our once every 2 episode cool monster scene.
Well, also, kaiju are really the only one that can go through it.
Yes, I just don't remember exactly what happened because I remember there being bombs. I remember they drew out the monster, and then the portal like activates and like swirls everything into it, and then it closes. I don't remember if it closed because of the monster, or they used the monster to activate it, and then they set off the bombs.
They plug it. Baby.
Yeah, I think that's what they did. I think they.
Oh, because doesn't the monster get sucked up?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You got a kick out of that one.
Yeah. So it's good. It's hilarious. It was very. Oh man, there's another visual I have of a large monster being like sucked into a portal like that and like kicking its legs. I'm not sure where I have that image coming from though. Yeah, I think that the monster just kind of jumps out of the ice, attacks a helicopter, then gets sucked into the portal, and that activates it. And then they detonate bombs to like collapse the earth around it into the portal, closing it off.
Okay, I wrote down my thought. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Also, this is the episode 8. Man, I only have one note for episode 8. I do not remember anything that happened. Oh, they start hunting down other portals. And
I made a joke. This poor kid. Kentaro, who we dog on.
yeah.
I made this joke at the end of the 7th episode. Kentaro looks like he's never looking at someone.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what it because he's pretty significantly taller than the rest of his main cast, and so when you're taller than someone or when you're shorter than someone, you like look eye contact with them. I don't know what it is, but it's like I never see him looking down to someone. Anyways, it was just an observation. Maybe he's like looking at someone in the crew, or he's not looking at the camera, so that's good.
At least you nailed that.
But it was just something I noticed, and I just kind of mentioned. I was like, "Oh, he's looking." So
not much going on. Like, it's kind of a whatever. I mean, it's probably the worst episode of the show because it's so focused on May. So we can move on to the next episode, which I don't remember at all, which might mean it's a worse episode.
But it seems they've made up our 3 shenanigans.
Yeah, so they do end up. Oh, okay. So one small thing that we skipped is they do end up meeting up with May, but she was being held by her former employer, but she actually lets May go out of the promise that she will inform on Monarch.
Yep.
Because as evil conglomerates tend to do, they want resources, and they see the monsters as potential resources.
Shmoneys.
And is it in this episode or the next episode? Kate and Kentaro end up convincing the leader of Monarch to collaborate with Apex in order to, or is it Apex? Yeah, to free Kate.
It is this episode.
That's the end of episode 7.
It is this episode.
Yeah,
because that's how they let her out too. Because I can't remember her name. The leader of Monarch at the time was like,
yeah, her
basically
name,
kind of like, I pulled a lot of pull for y'all.
Natalie Verdugo is the character's name. So who knows if that will, as of episode 9, the most recent episode, Apex doesn't come up at all.
No.
So this seems like a loose thread that will maybe come up in season 2, but as of right now, it doesn't really matter. We're kind of back to, like, every 2 or 3 episodes, we kind of end up back where we already were. Like, nothing has really happened. We're back to, okay, well, actually, how Kate is able to convince Monarch to do that is that they promise to help them find Lee.
Yes.
Episode 8, they go and find Lee. Oh, they spent, now I remember what episode 8 was about. Episode 8 is about them spending a really long time trying to figure out what Hiroshi's big map is about.
Yeah.
And I feel like we already figured this out, but apparently not.
It's all his kids.
Yeah. It's where all the portals are. And so then they spend a bunch of time trying to figure out which portal Lee's going to go to. Mm-hmm. I don't remember how they come to this conclusion, but it's the same one that Kiriko fell down. Kiko, yes.
In Kazakhstan.
Yeah. So they go there. He's there.
He's ready to plug the hole again.
A big old monster comes out and starts attacking him. Pretty cool scene. It causes multiple characters to... So Kate falls first. No, not Kate. May.
May falls first.
And I didn't see it. I wasn't looking. And you go, whoa, May's dead!
I did have a comment. Oh, no, that was at the beginning of episode 7 when she disappeared. And I said, maybe we just won't have to see May again.
Maybe she's gone.
So
2 episodes in a row, we thought for sure that she might be done for, and unfortunately not.
So, yeah, May falls first. And then Kate almost falls, and Lee catches her, then they both fall, and it looks like Kentaro's about to dive after them, except a little buggy, actually it's not that little, a bug looking kaiju comes back out. And so there's kind of like an implication of only one way in, only one way out. They probably got snatched up, eaten.
Yeah.
And Kentaro gets thrown back, he gets knocked out. And I think that's like the end of the episode. There were some flashbacks that were a little more like character building for Bill, Lee, and Kiko. This is where we find out that neither Lee or Bill are Hiroshi's father biologically. It just emphasized like biologically, which had me shook. I was kind of like, oh, so as it comes out, I think was Kiko married?
Yeah,
prior, she was with someone and she has a son, and this is when she tells
Lee, I think, right? Or both
it's Bill.
Lee and Bill? Oh, it's just Bill. Okay.
Because Bill goes to her house.
I see.
And I wrote, Bill Randa got the Rizda.
It's so insane that this show continues to be more family drama than
and so I made a comment
movie.
that by episode 8, I still hold my theory that I think a show just about 50s Monarch would have been fine.
Yeah, you could have, because what we get in episode 9 is...
Or a movie about 50s Monarch.
Sure, absolutely.
There's probably enough flashbacks that make up like an hour and a half.
The plot of episode 9 could have easily been its own show.
Oh, yeah.
So episode 9 just suddenly jumps to 1962. So we skip the entire of... So the earliest part that we have seen as far as the show's order, the first sequence we saw from early Monarch was just the 3 of them on a mission, and Kiko dies.
It's not the earliest that we saw. That was the first flashback we saw.
Yeah, like earliest, like for us, like the first episode.
Oh yes,
like the first thing not earliest chronologically, but earliest as far as the watching the show in order.
Die.
And then the show jumps back in time, shows how they all met, how they formed Monarch, and now the show has skipped over that part with no indication that they skipped that, other than unless you are paying attention to year numbers, which I am not at all. So I
did, and then I missed what exactly the show said. The exact same thing I proclaimed 10 seconds later.
Yeah. So the show jumps to 1962, and they are sending.
We do get to see young Hiroshi.
Yes.
With Papa Bill and Uncle Lee.
And he clearly has a connection to all of them. So at this point, Bill is raising Hiroshi, and
he's a good man.
They call Lee his uncle. And Lee gives him a pocket knife to like hold on to for him, and then Lee and some other people go on Operation Hourglass.
We have officially reached the accident trademarked.
Yeah, and so they pretty much just drop them in a big device it's the big
circle.
Well, what's the name of the device they've been using to communicate with the Titans?
Oh, the Gamma.
I don't remember what they called it.
It's a Gamma
really
something.
Particular name. But it's one of those, I think, and it attracts a monster.
It is basically
with
like
it, right?
Yeah, it sets out gamma rays and attracts kaiju.
And it allows them. Okay, so does it attract a monster, and that monster activates the wormhole for them?
So the theory is that because kaiju are the only ones that can enter the Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
They were going to draw it out, stop the gamma ray so it lost interest, and then just sneak in right behind it before the portal officially closed. Mm-hmm. So that was the goal. It was all timing, kind of that. So they do just that. They drop the sphere, so they call it Operation Hourglass, and you put a hourglass horizontal, looks like the Monarch logo.
Yeah.
So they drop Lee and 3 other cannon fodder characters with a whole slew of Department of Defense generals just watching. They're in Kansas. There's a random hole to the Hollow Earth in the middle of a field in Kansas. I don't know how they found that. So they drop it, and they attract some kaiju of some form. You guessed probably better than I did. We'll see it later which one it was. But so they drop the little ball canister in, and everything just falls apart. Quite literally, there's a bunch of weird gravitational pulls. I think one guy got sucked in, or he came close to.
Interesting.
He got hit with that like piece of fencing and got flung back. So people are like holding on for dear life, and finally the portal closes, and they lose contact with Lee Shaw. So then I think that was the intro. That was actually a long intro. We get the title credits, and then we are brought back to Shaw, old Shaw, in the present day, in the Hollow Earth.
Yes.
And he finds May. They are together in the Hollow Earth.
And there's like
lightning.
Yeah, well, first off, like the distant background in the forest is all like
wibbly wobbly,
blue and purple and clearly science fiction-y, and then on the ground, lightning is like coming towards May, and then Lee tackles her, and the lightning shoots straight up, and they're having to run through this field, and I feel like this should be a monster. They shouldn't be avoiding lightning or electricity. They should be avoiding a monster. It just feels like the show will do whatever it can to not have a monster in a scene. It feels like, but
so somehow they survived. Somehow the Hollow Earth returned. I have a lot to talk about at the end about that. So you had a really funny comment. As they're running through this forest, this like spindly forest, you just went, they're in the upside down.
And then we, at that point, we cut back to young Shaw. Is that correct? We
no.
get more stupid Monarch stuff. Is that it?
So what it is that my next note I have is about the next flashback with Bill Randa and General Puckett.
Oh, yeah. Just Monarch gets shut down.
I do think we see Kentaro in the hospital, though. Right? Kentaro has been brought back, survived.
Oh,
he's got a broken leg.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's
His
upset.
mom comes and sees him.
He's like, we need to find Kate. And Monarch's like, oh, yeah, that's not going to happen, besties.
Not gonna happen.
So, kind of a sad moment. Nothing too crazy. And we get another flashback with Bill Randa. And this scene is just General Puckett, the general guy, telling Bill that you have no funding now. After this disaster, there is no funding. Bill Randa's like, but how are we going to, how are we going to study them if we don't have money? And General Puckett's just like, that's too bad. He's like, we don't need to spend more money on this. He's like, we don't need to spend more money on theories when people are dying, something like that. But I think this is interesting because now we see the start. We now know why Bill Randa got to the point where he was at the beginning of Skull Island.
In what way?
When we see him first thing in Skull Island, I can't remember what office he's going to. I don't know if it's a stockholder or someone in the government. He's just like this crazy old guy who, he's not old. He's he's essentially a crazy old man who's talking about monsters that no one has seen. So we have seen Monarch has been ground into the dust. The government probably wants to forget about it. Failed mission and all of that. So it's just interesting to see the background of the reasoning. So Monarch was created, government program, and then seeing how it got to the point it was in 1973.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So then we see, I believe we go back to seeing Lee Shaw, young Lee Shaw.
Yeah, but you kept calling out this is very similar to Captain America waking up in 2011 or 2010, whatever year he woke up in. And he like kidnaps a nurse and starts calling for Bill Randa, and then a Japanese man talks him down and says that Bill Randa's dead, and that he's been dead. Well,
so the timeline, because I had to write it down. Lee Shaw disappeared in 1962.
Yeah.
Came back in 1983. So 20 years, has not aged a bit.
No, doesn't the time code say 82?
Maybe it was 82.
Yeah. Just like, the only reason I bring that up is because this man that Lee is talking to says, you went into the Hollow Earth 20 years ago. So, and he like collapses on the ground, and then this year 1982 pops in the middle of the screen.
But Skull Island, the event of Skull Island happened in 1973. So Bill Randa has been dead for 10 years, 10 years, give or take.
The reason I bring up the title is like, it was just like, there's not a lot of great creative decisions in this show, but I thought the idea to bring up the time code after a character learns what year it is was really interesting.
Because we've been wondering the same thing, but the man that talked to him is Hiroshi.
Yes. So presumably 25 to 28-year-old Hiroshi who looks like he's 45 because it's the same actor who's playing him in 2015, which is 40-some years later. Yeah. 43 years later. So the same guy is playing 20-something-year-old Hiroshi and 60-year-old something Hiroshi. Yeah. But
so this is one of my comments at this point. Wow, the show got interesting. 9 episodes in.
Yeah. And I forgot, I have seen a note here that I forgot. Whenever they were doing the ill-conceived mission to send this team to what they called inner space, the Hollow Earth.
No, they called it underspace.
Underspace, right.
That was so bad.
It's very poorly designed and not very well thought out. And you just said, how do they plan to get them back? Okay. Which is a very good question.
Yes, so... Hiroshi explains to Shaw what happened. Shaw is kind of losing it, and honestly, valid. I would be too. That's. I can't imagine how mentally trying that is on someone. And so he. So Lee took a woman hostage, like with a wire, and was like, "Where's Bill Randa?" He's shouting down the hall, "Get me Bill Randa!
I want Bill Randa."
Yeah. And so we theorize that that lady's probably Kentaro's mom because she and Hiroshi kind of seem to hit it off a little bit.
Yeah.
And we go into a scene of Hiroshi and this woman have been talking. I just watched Athena eat something nondescript off the floor. I have no idea what is in her mouth right now. Anyways, and we switch to a scene of Kentaro and his mom going back home from the hospital. Kind of have like an emotional moment where Kentaro's blaming himself a lot for Kate's death. Mom is doing I think Mom did a good job of comforting him. And so what happens then is, if I am correct about this, we get a quick scene. We get a quick scene of hip hop music, which we did find out was diegetic, fortunately. But it's just like hip hop music out of nowhere, switching scenes to that one random character from Monarch who lived in the desert, Utah, just keeps showing back up. She's noticed a pattern in the gamma, in one of the portals of the gamma holes. The Hollow Earth.
Well, what
portal.
she said is that every time a portal opens up, there's massive spike in gamma radiation all over the Earth. And then instead of just looking at just one burst, she like zoomed out, like literally zooms out on her computer and looked at all of the bursts. And she said that this is a pattern; they're the same every time. So she says it's a message from someone.
And so, we switch back to Hiroshi talking with young Lee Shaw about what happened, and Lee Shaw is talking about what happened to them in the Hollow Earth. So basically, kind of how it went down is they went down, crashed, lost contact, and just got spawn killed by everything around them. So they show in. You actually identified this kaiju before I did, and I was kind of shocked. We're pretty sure it's the dragon from the Philippines from one of the first earlier episodes. My thought was Kamazotz, which would have been wild for a first introduction for that kaiju.
And what is that? Is that a classic kaiju? Or?
Kamazotz is a very large kind of bat-looking thing, but it's not Batra. It's very different. Kamazotz is the lore is that after. Okay, I'll make this brief. So, after King of the Monsters and between King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, Ghidorah's storm that was in DC Boston, big old, probably like category 10 hurricane or whatever, crossed the ocean and probably like decimated. Oh no, maybe it's in the Pacific. It crossed the ocean and settled on Skull Island. And Kamazotz came up out of the Hollow Earth and just terrorized the island. So first of all, not only was the island just pummeled with a massive category or hurricane, this kaiju just like decimated it. Anyways, it was in the comics. Read up. So that was just all that to say. I thought it was Kamazotz, and it's not Kamazotz, but we're pretty sure it's the dragon. So that.
According to the Kaijupedia, it is an Eon dragon that's in this episode.
Okay. So they go down. Shaw's explaining how they got destroyed. Some weird looking naked mole rat kaiju things kind of show up. Their faces look scary. There's a very pointed shot of one of the other pteronauts. I don't know. Ground knots. Absolutely getting struck by lightning through the heart.
Yeah. And all of this is not presented in footage, but like a still 3D image that's like extreme slow motion with the camera moving, but nothing else really moving.
Yeah.
Which seems like a way around actually having to like make these scenes. Like I feel like it is, if you already have access to these 3D models, in a 3D scan of the actor.
You just render it once instead of for whole footage.
And so you just show it as a single still image that you then rotate from the camera's perspective, but don't actually have to do any movement. And it's cool, but it's just kind of a bummer when the show is so light on action. And this is what I meant by when I said earlier that this one episode could be the whole show.
Yeah.
This sequence
This failed experiment.
Yeah. These people going through the Hollow Earth and getting killed by monsters in hostile environment is way more interesting than 95% of the show.
Yeah. So Lee Shaw says he radioed for backup, and a portal appears, zoops him up into some forest in Japan. All this to say, Hiroshi's kind of a jerk, but I mean, he's not character-wise, like, he's not been the nicest man. He's a jerk. He's kind of got this weird. He's got a lot of healing to do. He's like blaming Lee for leaving when it, like, I don't think it was his fault, but he does make kind of an interesting comment on, we didn't have to deal with these until you people woke him up, meaning him, Kiko, and Bill. So basically, all that to say, Hiroshi goes, we're going to send you to an observational place. It's like a retirement home. And that's where Bill spends the next 40 years. And we can get to that part because I think that's closer to the end. But so it cuts back to May and Shaw, because Shaw has also been telling May what happened to him. So we had a big conversation on whether they'd been in the Hollow Earth or not.
Well, the forest,
there were similarities, yes,
that Shaw landed in on Earth, I thought in my memory looked like the forest that old Shaw and May were in, but then they cut back to old Shaw and May, and the forest is totally different.
It was funny because we were just looking at each other like, what are you talking about?
Well, it seemed very indicative of this show to me that they would
fake out.
That they would,
oh my gosh,
they would not send our main characters to the center of to the Hollow Earth. In actuality, they would just send
the
them to
real
another part of
Hollow
the
Earth was the friends we made along the way.
But nothing is really accomplished when we cut back to them. Right? They're just talking and walking.
We gotta find Kate.
Yeah,
we gotta find Kate. So now we do get a nice scene back in the modern day of Kentaro and Hiroshi interacting.
Yeah.
First time the whole, like, Hiroshi just shows up. And he's like, Kentaro, why are you in my office?
Like nothing has happened.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, sorry, I didn't have time to call your mom.
Yeah, and Kentaro is like, dude, since the last time I saw you, I've experienced, I've fought monsters and figured out that you have another family.
And he's like, you left us to die in the desert.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting because he's like, sorry. He goes, you left me and Kate. And Hiroshi's like, oh, my kids found each other. So they're having a conversation. And Kentaro was taking files from his dad's office. And he's like, what are you going to do with that? And actually, I do think this is probably this is a really good scene, I think, from Kentaro's actor. Yes. I don't know but this felt very emotional because Kentaro tells Hiroshi that Kate is dead. And Hiroshi just breaks.
Yeah.
He's like, this is my fault.
Well, he doesn't want to believe it.
He's like, you're telling that to be mean to me.
And Kentaro just starts blaming him for everything.
Yeah, and then, he's like, you're just saying that to be mean to me. And then realizes Kentaro's not lying. And then Kentaro's like, if you weren't such a sad lying little man.
Yeah.
So
pretty much Kentaro blames Hiroshi for them having even, like, they went hunting after him.
Yeah.
Like,
if you hadn't left, Kate wouldn't have come into my life. So that was, I actually thought, I was watching this, I'm like, oh man, this is like a really, I think, emotionally powerful moment. I think we see Kentaro kind of sticking up for himself here.
Yes.
So.
And then we cut to May in the Hollow Earth. And Kate.
Yes.
Kate and she meets what's called a bramble boar, which is really just a big boar with a lot of extra spikes coming out of its face, and like
very
grass growing on its back. And one of the weirdest fake outs in any piece of media, it like walks up to her, sniffs her face, and then walks off, and you think, oh, it's leaving now. That was the fake out. And then it just comes back around. It just walks around the tree and comes back.
And tries to charge her. And then it gets shot in the eye by an arrow. A human-made arrow. And then we get our reveal.
She's alive, Dr. Kiko, and has not aged at all. And this is like ripped exactly out of the Ant-Man trilogy with the original Wasp having survived in the quantum realm.
Nothing feels permanent in this show. It's like excuse me. Did you hear her?
Yes.
There are no it's like there are no consequences in this show.
Uh-huh.
I feel like, and I mean, maybe there's a bit where you can go, oh my gosh, Bill lost his girlfriend wife. I guess they were married. Lost his wife, and she's been alive the whole time. And he really, the most tragic ending out of all this is Bill Randa, if you ask me.
Sure.
Maybe because I think John Goodman did a fantastic job as him in Skull Island.
Totally.
And he's the one who really got the short end of everything. He's the only one that lived, quote unquote, the only one to keep it up.
Till the day he died, he believed that the two people he loved most in the world, other than his adopted son, were dead.
So it's just, I feel like, it feels like there are no consequences. Like, everything that happens in this show just gets resolved, or nothing actually happens. Like, I think Kiko dying in that first or second episode was really like, whoa.
Sure.
I feel like it set a tone. But then we constantly have fake outs after fake outs. Tim dying. He's actually alive. We see Godzilla twice. It's like there's no weight to any of the things that happen. May betrays them twice. She betrayed once for Monarch.
Yeah.
And then she lets herself get captured again, but they get pretty much let go without any major consequences outside of, you need to be an informant for us, which she was already doing for Monarch.
I think, yeah, I at first I wasn't totally upset by this twist. I thought, like, on its face, it seems fine and it could justify itself, but you are right.
I think if we hadn't had 8 episodes before this, and like you said, this should have been episode 4, I think it would have been fine.
But you are right. The fact that the show so early on killed what seemed to be a main character and is a main character going on, knowing that she dies, it has kind of undercut a lot of that.
Hiroshi's going to meet his mom, who's probably younger than him now.
Oh, it absolutely is. Would have been more interesting if this was young Lee. Like,
oh my gosh.
Either wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, or like going to the Hollow Earth somehow like duplicated him.
Yeah.
Like, it just would have been a more enticing twist of and then we would get to have a fun scene of young and old Shaw interacting with one another. That would be a better path. Just put off the top of my head. And that is episode Cuts to Black.
Okay, so here's the thing I've been wanting to talk about for a hot second.
Okay.
And this is something you alluded to earlier. So, Hollow Earth travel. I'm a little so they went last episode, they fell into the Hollow Earth. There's no way they're going to be dead. There's no way that they killed off 2 out of 3 of the main characters and the antagonist secondary character. And so my thought is, how in the world are they going to survive going through the Hollow Earth? Because prior to this, what we've seen in Godzilla vs. Kong is that Apex, whatever it's called, Cybernetics, built all these crazy ships and did trial after trial after trial of trying to get into the Hollow Earth. Failed. They were able to go in, and so granted, maybe this is... maybe I need to watch Godzilla vs. Kong again, which I don't want to do.
We will,
I know. Which would confirm things. So my thoughts was like, what is the reason they survived? Is it... My first thought when they woke up in the trees, are there different levels to the Hollow Earth? Is it not as deep as where they went in Godzilla vs. Kong, so therefore it's less of a fall? I don't think that right now. Is it dependent? I was like, is it dependent on the hole? Because the hole they went through in Godzilla vs. Kong was massive. That's a lot of The theory is that, or what we learned in Godzilla vs. Kong is that traveling through the Hollow Earth puts the weight of the Earth on you, like the gravitational weight of the Earth on you. And I was like, is it dependent on the location? Or maybe places that might be the portals are closer to the surface, it's less of a fall. So, and now we're learning in this episode that what has happened is the way they've been able to get into the Hollow Earth is following kaiju. And actually, that would have been how Kiko survived. She was pulled down by the kaiju. Now, I don't know how she managed to survive not getting eaten by 2,000 cockroaches. That's a story for a different time. But so that, if the theory now is that the way to get into the Hollow Earth is by following kaiju, that does put a little bit of sense into Godzilla vs. Kong, and I'll get to that. So we have seen Kiko survive, magically. We saw Mei, who appears to have fallen maybe just right before the kaiju entered, that we saw in episode 8.
Yep.
And along with Lee and Kate fell right before the kaiju passed up, immediately went back down. And then
Hope he falls into this Hollow Earth.
Hey, you've seen the potholes in the city. And then we see the accident. That's just what I call it, the accident of Lee Shaw. They went through after a kaiju went through, which can lend some credibility to Godzilla vs. Kong. That maybe the only reason our cast lived getting to the Hollow Earth was because they followed Kong.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why all of, and maybe this is something they mentioned and I just didn't remember it until now. Maybe that's the only reason they were actually able to go into Kong, because they were like, Kong's a Titan. Yeah. Kong should know how to get home. Maybe we can follow him. So maybe this is cementing that future Hollow Earth travel.
Yeah.
But holy crap. And if that's the case, I can get behind that. Which does, as we've seen in the trailer for Godzilla X Kong, which sounds like a ship name.
Yes.
I'm just saying it, because it's not versus anymore. We see an underground society. We knew Titans and humans lived alongside. We saw that in King of the Monsters with Godzilla's little temple place. So it would make sense that humans can get to the Hollow Earth if they follow a kaiju. I'm all for cementing that, but man, last episode I would have been actually kind of annoyed if it had just been like chance. But that does bring my second thought. How were they going to get Lee Shaw and the others out? There was no tether. And here's actually my other thought. Because they were hoping to have contact with them down below so they could get information. The government in the 60s? I don't know. Maybe they lied to Bill Randa and the government was just going to get the information and leave him down there. Maybe there was no plan to bring him up.
Yeah, probably not. Probably a one-way mission.
That's the only thing I can think of. It would have had to have been a one, because they just dropped a ball down a tunnel.
My two thoughts about this episode. One, I already alluded to them ripping off Ant-Man and the Wasp and / Ant-Man Quantumania. But they also not necessarily ripping off, but it's weird how similar this is to the plot of Ahsoka. That our main characters spend a ton of time searching for a character. They are being chased by another organization. They finally get there and they find someone they thought was dead alive. So that's one thought. Second thought connected to that is we have a running joke in this podcast about characters who fall down infinite voids who are just still falling. Kiko's the first one to survive that, I think. Oh my gosh. She was falling.
Confirmed live. Oh my god.
So she's no longer on our list of people who are still falling. She hit the ground, confirmed, and survived. So congratulations, Kiko.
Yay!
You got off the infinite falling list.
For now. She'll probably die next episode.
She'll fall down another.
She'll probably meet Shaw and then die in 2 seconds. And Shaw's going to have even more of a messed up head. Oh, we forgot one important part.
Yeah.
Now, I was actually very intrigued by this. So they have a shot of young Lee Shaw at this retirement home. Mm-hmm. Looks like he's watching TV. Looks like he's like watching a space launch, maybe, of some form. We were making Challenger jokes earlier. Yeah. Because actually, I didn't know there's a TV in one of the rooms in the Monarch medical facility that shows a space launch. So I was kind of, wait, what space launches happened in 1983? We should look it up.
It's 82.
Shut up. Oh, look it up. America. Well, there were a lot.
Challenger was April 4th, 1983.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it was after.
Okay. Oh, can you imagine? They might have gotten
You had the Columbia shuttles in 82.
Okay. So anyways, all that, he's watching TV and they hand him the nurse hands him a little tray with a little paper cup and a little glass of water. If you've ever been in a hospital or a doctor's office, those little paper cups hold medicine. They are a little vessel for medicine. Takes the medicine and he's kind of got like a glassy-eyed stare. We jump forward 40 years or so to 2014. They are watching TV and a breaking news broadcast goes on right as he is handed his medication and water, and it is footage of the Hawaii attack of the
Mutos,
the Queen Muto and Godzilla. And like he snaps back.
I'm back, baby.
He snaps back to consciousness. Like he's got these two guys who are around him, older guys, some other old it's a retirement home, come in to watch, but we see him like coming back to life. He crushes the medicine cup in his hand, and that I actually find that very interesting, that they have essentially kept him drugged for 40 years. And you know what? I'd be pissed too.
I'm back. I'm old and I'm pissed.
So that actually, I will say, that actually provides some interesting depth and does explain a lot of Shaw. So the Shaw background, has been really interesting. It's just unfortunately buried under a lot of things. And not that we're just like dogging on this show,
but we
kind of are.
It deserves it.
There are some cool moments, but it just seems that there's so much explaining for things that maybe didn't need episodes dedicated to.
Also, something you mentioned that I totally agree with, that I thought about, one of the biggest illnesses in modern film and television, and probably like video games as well and other media like that, is what I'm thinking I would call like the overconfident first installment of a thing that is the first thing.
People love Godzilla. They're going to love this.
And it just assumes we're going to have more in this series, so we can withhold as much as possible. Mm-hmm. I think of the first Sonic film that only has Sonic and no other, and Dr. Eggman, or they call him Robotnik in the movie?
Yes, they do.
And no other Sonic characters, even though Sonic has a massive list of characters that is what makes Sonic fun. Or you have like the first Ninja Turtles movie, the live action one from first of the newer ones, or like the first Halo season, the first Halo show that barely has that actually they never even make it to a Halo. Just like things that are so confident they're gonna have a sequel or multiple seasons or whatever, that they barely accomplish anything. This is one of the strangest examples of that, because this show is barely related to an existing franchise. And it's so confident that it's going to have a second season.
And here's the thing. They set up... I think actually Kate's setup was really interesting as a character, because she has the motive to hate kaiju and Godzilla especially.
Yeah.
Because she watched her students fall off a dead. Mm-hmm. Like, she can put all that blame on kaiju and be like, I hate kaiju. And I just feel like so much of like that setup has just kind of been swept, like brushed under the rug, and there's so, like you said, there's so much focus on family drama.
Yeah. So this show, being one, too many episodes to begin with, but also two, is barely accomplishing anything and is assuming there will be another season. I think
they might want to be careful.
I mean, there's just no reason to think that this show is good enough or popular enough to have a second season, which really sucks, because
unless they're already working on it.
Like, it sucks that we're probably not gonna get see the end of this show, at least in this show. They might end up, it'd be really hilarious if, like,
we just see all the characters underground in the Hollow Earth in the next movie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, somehow in the process of making this show, they already knew they were not going to do a second season, so they just concluded
Pumped it full of fluff.
They concluded in Kong X Godzilla. Like, it's like one scene where they just wrap up all the plot threads.
Like, they've been in the Hollow Earth for a couple years.
Or we just see everyone's skeleton just kill all the characters.
No.
Or do a Transformers 5 and just have one line of dialogue that kills all the characters.
And it's like you said, I've seen no one talking about this. Do you know what I still see people talking about?
Godzilla -1.
Yeah, that's what everyone's talking about. No one's
Absolutely.
talking about Monarch. Actually, I see a couple of things. But again, final thought. Where is Dr. Serizawa?
That's
That
the
is
thing.
what it should have been. Sorry. Ooh.
That would be how you would make this show. Like, you have a very niche audience as it is with this show. Appeal to that audience.
He would be around. He is around at this
Absolutely.
time. So why in the world? So, because when we see him in King of the Monsters, he is head of Monarch at that time. So I can't remember her name. I just can't remember her name. Business lady who's in charge of Kaiju Group.
in this show.
In this show.
Yeah, her name is Natalie Verdugo.
Verdugo. Okay, like at some point leadership passes, and maybe that happens after this show. Maybe Monarch is tarnished enough that someone goes, "Oh, we need someone else." But I just think
you need some pre-existing characters if you're going to set a show like obviously the most similar show to this as far as other shared universes is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, and that show was headed up by Agent Coulson, a character everyone already loved, and you needed that. And then people came to love. And I'm not defending the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's probably just as bad as this show, but it had its audience. People did to some degree like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they eventually, I think, came to like the core character, the group of characters they had. But you had to start off with something people were invested in, which was Coulson.
And granted, sorry.
Well, and Serizawa would be that character for this universe.
I was just thinking, how would you even put that? How would you even put him in? I mean, you could put him as the head of Monarch, but that would definitely change the dynamics because he is very pro kaiju.
Yeah,
he's very pro Titan. Unless you want to do a complete 180 on his, it's not 180 on his character, and make Hiroshi Serizawa. But we also have an established canon for Serizawa that his father died in Hiroshima because he has his watch. Unless if his mom was Kiko, that's why his dad's dead.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe then you could have an interesting dynamic of Serizawa's son hating kaiju that's never expanded upon in Godzilla vs. Kong, being Kentaro, and hates kaiju because of his dad. Anyways, I don't know. Maybe there's a fanfic writers. Someone write something that makes sense with Dr. Serizawa in it. But I also love Dr. Serizawa, and he can do no wrong. So.
All right, time to get on to...
I can't believe we talked about that for so long.
Way too long. Meme minute, but it's longer than a minute. But is it longer than a meme parsec or meme astrosecond, previously referred to as shmeme schminute? I've got a video here for you.
Oh, a video. I don't have any videos, but I have...
So it says clones according to Lego, and it has the Lego clone with the helmet on, and the helmet disappears, and it shows where the eyes should be. And what you realize is the way the clone's head interacts with the helmet, the visor, the eye should be at the very top of the clone's head, and it is. They've then moved the eyes up quite a bit on the clone's face, and it is very funny.
I don't like that.
Are you have any videos?
No, I don't, but I have 13 memes.
Okay, show me 2.
People who don't know, people who know in the images, Padawan Cal Kestis high-fiving a clone trooper.
Because it's right before Order 66.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was crying during that mission. I was having a hard time.
What else you got?
This is one of those super corny, like, Android emojis, like, that people find in PNGs and said. And it says, "You are too..." And then someone copy-pasted, "caught up in hating on the Rebels animation style to appreciate the most beautiful Star Wars story ever told."
Nice.
Thank you.
This is an image of this very proud-looking Rey from the very end of Rise of Skywalker, and it says, "Who are you? I'm Rey." Rey who? Raid Shadow Legends is one of the most ambitious RPG projects of 2019. Just look at the level of detail in these characters. If you use the code in the description, you can start with 50,000 silver and join the special launch tournament. Raid Shadow Legends. So good. Give me another one.
It's crazy in New Mexico right now.
And it's just a Star Destroyer floating in a normal looking photo. Is there a meme there that is this referencing something that I don't? Okay,
it's just crazy in New Mexico right now.
Here's another college football reference.
Gosh, this is the most college football I've gotten all year.
So there was a Pop-Tart Bowl sponsored by Pop-Tarts.
I did see that.
And their Pop-Tart mascot got lowered down into a gigantic toaster. And before he did that, he was like standing on top of it, and there's like smoke shooting out everything. And so it has the image of the... So it's, imagine a Pop-Tart, but it's human size. This guy's arms and legs and a very happy face, and he's standing on top of a big toaster, and there's like smoke shooting out, and it just says, "The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire."
Did you make that one?
Do you want to double down and guess right now?
No. Meanwhile, on Alderaan.
It's just space. It's very good.
Space.
So this is an image of what I'm pretty sure, having grown up at a place with one of these and gone to it a lot, I'm pretty sure this is a viewing area for sitting and watching the big aquarium at a Bass Pro. And there's a big naked man just laying next to it, and it says Boba Fett after Black Crusade and yanked him out of the back of the tank. What else you got? I'm glad you like that.
Godzilla when Godzilla is destroying Japan. Godzilla when literally anything else is destroying Japan, and you have like a happy Godzilla and a mad Godzilla.
That is funny. Asterix, monsters finally show up. All the human characters, backed by unpopular demand, me! And it's just a T-posing Kermit with a Monarch logo on his chest.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So someone's talking about the show.
Someone, yeah.
The one person on the Reddit thread.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Optimus, Autobots, we must stay hidden. The humans cannot know of our existence. Mirage, literally kidnaps a random dude so they can be bros. Optimus. Squinty.
No, I don't know if this is edited or that's from the movie, but he looks a lot like attractive Squidward. But yeah, he's got a very like look on his face.
Squidward, get the terminology right.
What did I say?
Attractive Squidward.
This has got Hannah. It says younglings learning about Dooku 21 BBY colorized, and it's Hannibal Buress from Spider-Man Homecoming. And then it's got a picture of Dooku next to him. He says, "I'm pretty sure this guy's a war criminal now, but whatever." Talking about Captain America in the movie.
Good. I'll take you all on. 10-year-old me in the theater. Let them fight.
That's Optimus Prime. Very nice combination of subjects from this movie. Let them fight. Yeah, totally. So you've got the popular Magneto. I want to see the real. I said the real perfection. So you've got. I want to see Yoda's. Oh, here, let me turn this sideways so I can show it to you properly. Oh no, I just crashed the app. I think. No, I just closed out of it.
Too dank.
Too dank. So he says, I want to see Yoda's best duel, and it's Dooku versus Yoda. I said the best duel.
I know exactly
and it's
which one
Dooku
this one is. I know which one this one
Palpatine,
is.
perfection, and it's Yoda fighting with R2-D2 over the C3, the flashlight. Yeah, that sequence I think is a great example of why puppets are so good, because like real Yoda interacting with real R2-D2 and just hitting him with the cane is just the best thing ever.
Us in 80 years.
Mine. Anyways, what do you got?
The other Decepticons. What makes you think you're so much better than us? Soundwave and Shockwave.
We are intellectually superior in every way from the monkeys from Madagascar.
With Soundwave Shockwave's head.
They are the only two competent Decepticons. That is true.
This carrying the entire faction.
So this is the Thor Ragnarok. You can't defeat me, I know, but he can meme. But Padme saying, "You can't defeat me," and it's all the different villains try to kill their. Yeah, we know, but it can, and it's just
The
sadness.
big sad.
It's just sadness from
Inside Out.
Out.
I was gonna say the big sad. I've seen that one. So this is the meme where someone's like passing a note up to the kid in front of them, and the kid opens it and he's mad. It's Mace Windu passing a note to Anakin. And the next scene, the note says, "Your MasterCard has been declined."
Yep. So someone has taken an image of Obi-Wan and Bail Organa and Yoda walking down the hallway of the Tantive floor, but Yoda has been stretched. Ooh. His head is the same, but his body is looks like a human. He's the same height as everyone else. And it's got Mike Wazowski. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me.
Is a screenshot from a Ring doorbell camera.
It's just Shin Godzilla right up in the camera. Oh, that's good. That's so simple, but so effective.
And it's second form, or it's like third form Shin Godzilla, where he's still red, but he's standing.
That's so good. I love it.
You got any games on your phone?
This is my last one. It's
I have 3.
Ben Kenobi giving Luke his lightsaber for the first time, and Obi-Wan saying, "An elegant weapon from a more civilized age, like 19 years ago." All right, what do you got?
Live Mechagodzilla reaction.
This is your second meme that's just a close-up of a robot's face. That's good. That's really funny.
All right, I got 3 more. Or no, 2 more. When you break into a house, but they're watching Transformers.
And the
Robert sitting on the chair inside the window with the couple just watching with them.
I like that one.
The last one, Arctic monkeys or something.
So it's Godzilla in the
That's
Godzilla.
Kong.
Gosh dang it. King Kong in the snow. Arctic Monkeys being the popular band. That's funny. I like that.
Anyway.
Arctic Monkeys or something. I don't listen to indie music. All right, I sent you the memes.
I didn't, so.
While you're sending those, as always, thank you to Caleb Jacoby for our intro and outro music. Props to
we're
Rachel.
back to the normal music. Thank goodness.
Actually, no, we're not. Sorry.
No!
I'm just reading it. We're still... Look, I have asked Caleb, I know he doesn't listen to this, but I've asked him to make us a new theme. I'm waiting on hearing back from him. Until then, either we will go back to the old theme, but for the time being, we're still in Monster Wonderland.
Can he synth a Godzilla roar for us?
And props to Rachel for our outro. And sorry, not our outro. Our artwork. Our artwork.
You're welcome.
And also running our account on the website formerly known as Twitter.
Props to
now known as
X.
As
Cameron.
What is his name? Who owns it now?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk's playground. Something like that.
Elon Musty.
Elon Musk X.
Props to Cameron for running our Facebook.
I want to
silence.
I get memes on Facebook and I want to share them from the Facebook page, but then I think, well, then I can't share them on the podcast. Okay, now we're gonna guess which meme each of us made. Each of us made one meme this week in that group that we just shared.
Did you make the back by unpopular demand?
Is that your official guest?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Nicely done. Back by unpopular demand, me.
I had to think, who else is watching this show? We're the only 2 people watching this show. Apple looking at the analytics. I mean, they say one person. Oh, we got a second TV watching episode 7 and 8.
There are a lot in here that could be you.
Oh, sorry. That was my water bottle.
See, I don't think that the live Mechagodzilla one is you because that would have required you to have watched King Kong versus Godzilla again. I'm gonna guess Godzilla. Is it this one?
It's not.
Oh, I'm so bad. How about this one?
Nope.
Is it Meanwhile in Alderaan?
No.
Is it this one?
No.
Dang it. Wow. Is it this one?
No.
Wow. Is it this one?
Yeah.
Dang it. So she made the I'll take you all on 10-year-old me in the theater. Let them fight. I
got nervous.
Dang it.
I got nervous when I started talking a little too much about Sarazawa. I thought I was going to give myself away. I was like, ooh, I got to tone it down.
This is week 19. I am at an even 10-10. Rachel improves to 13-6. Very nice.
Let me make sure I have the 13. So last week's would have been 12-6.
Yeah, because I have 20 total because I got 2 points that 1 week.
Oh, I forgot to put in your 2 points.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I had you at 9-9. I apologize. I'll fix that.
So that's the end of the show. Thank you for listening.
Woo!
And
the end of this episode. We're not done.
Yes. We will be back in 2 weeks. Or next week, whichever one we decide.
We only have one more episode of the riveting
of Monarch, and also at some point I will get the recap of year 1 edited. I'm working on it.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming, and it just takes a lot more time. I had to. No one wants to hear about how I'm making it. It's not that interesting, but it's taking a lot of work.
I do.
And give us something to read on the pod. Leave us a review or tweet or DM us memes or opinions. This is Cameron and Rachel signing off saying Bill Randa got the Rizda.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.